Everyone. We are coming to you live via Facebook streaming, YouTube streaming, and also via Skype. Each one of you is welcome to this live streaming from our studios in Trinidad. Sutras of Vigyan Bhairav Tantra. Trust is the root of transformation. There are two things which are very essential: trust and surrender. Why is surrender necessary? Surrender means you allow the master to do whatever is necessary for your transformation. You have a particular physical symptom, you need to go in surgery. For that, you have to surrender to the surgeon. Without surrender, you say to this surgeon that I will not let you do this. There are certain things required for surgery. There are certain procedures, preconditions, and after that. If you do not allow the surgeon to do that, he will not be able to perform the surgery on you and your symptom will not be removed. But you can surrender only when you trust the capabilities and you have a total trust in the person. Whatever he is saying is absolutely right, and around me he is the right person for me to allow him to do the surgery. So trust comes first. Trust is followed by surrender, and these two together become like 2 feet, 2 poles for the process of transformation of human consciousness to begin and gain momentum. You are asleep. There are many inhibitions, conditions in you that you are not aware of these. In that situation, what is to be done? You know the famous story from the Bible. Adam and Eve was living in the Garden of Eden. God has forbidden them to eat the fruit from the tree that grew in the middle of the garden. If you prohibit someone from doing something that remains constantly in the mind of the person, you can do an experiment. At your door entrance, you put a sign, peeping here is prohibited. That creates a curiosity. And everyone, whosoever sees it, this signboard hanging on your entrance, peeping here is prohibited, everyone will peep. So when God told Adam and Eve not to eat fruits from this tree, it created a curiosity. It is like a peeping not allowed sign was hanging on the tree. And according to Sufis, this was the device of the master for the process of transformation to begin. Otherwise, they would have remained like a child. but they will not attain to awakening. So one day Eve persuaded Adam to eat the fruit from the tree, and as they ate that, knowledge came into them. Knowledge is the root for ego. Ego came into them. And what does ego do? Ego hides itself, hides the truth, and exposes all that is false. You want to give an impression, an image. So the moment Adam and Eve ate the fruit from the Garden of Eden, knowledge came. They become aware of their nakedness. They took the leaves of the tree to hide themselves. That's where the process of transformation began. God expelled them for disobedience. This was a pre-planned situation for Adam and Eve to disobey God. He could have allowed them to do that. So sometimes you create the situation for your children or for someone, expose them to a certain situation, and then they will begin to grow into awareness, begin to use their intelligence. And that was the beginning. It's not disobedience. Sometimes disobedience becomes the way for transformation. Only Sufis have been able to look at this story in that way. You are asleep. There are many misconceptions, inhibitions, conditionings. So because of that, you are asleep. You go to the university, spend 20-25 years, you come out with degrees and honors, but you do not have the answers to the simple questions that life asks on a day-to-day basis. So you are a sleepwalker, sleep doer. Everything you do as a sleep. So you need someone to wake you up. But for that you have to trust that person. And you have to surrender to that person. If you have to go somewhere, or your child has to get up early to go to the school, he will tell you, Daddy, wake me up tomorrow morning at this time or give me a call. So this is the surrender. And before that, he must trust you. Then he will allow you to wake you up. If you say, okay, I will allow you to disturb me, or you say, okay, I will wake you up at this hour. That is what surrender means. You have accepted, you have known that your father wakes up every morning at this hour. So you have known very well that this is the person who can wake me up. And you will say, make sure that I not only wake up but get up from the bed also. Because I have a habit of waking up and then falling asleep. And then early morning when you wake up and fall asleep again, the sleep is more intense. So that is what you surrender to the person, and for that trust was needed. Trust means that now, even if this man leads you towards misery, you will be ready to move with him. You will not question him anymore. The way you will want to wake up your son, he will not doubt your methodology. In order to bring about transformation, you need a methodology. Sometimes it may not be pleasing. This happens, this situation comes for the master on a day-to-day basis. He have no set answers. All of a sudden someone calls and narrates his or her problems. He gives the response. This is what is based on something that psychology can study the behavior, the way of master. Someone asked some time ago that what is the psychological aspect in the Sufi teachings of Naqshbandi Sheikh Lalaji. You want to know but me to write something? Watch his behavior, how he deals with you and your problems. These are all the examples of analytical psychology and various any other dimension that you understand and you know of psychology. Master uses that. So there is a need. Just as when you have a physical condition, you want to go to the doctor, you know that you have conceived, your menstrual cycle has stopped, so you want to confirm that am I pregnant? You have to go to the gynecologist or any other person. If you don't trust, you don't surrender, how can he check you and confirm if you are conceived and everything is normal? Without trust, no progress is possible. If you have a doubt that this person may harm you or may take advantage of you, then the progress may not be possible. If you feel in your terms and with your conditionings and inhibitions, then no way is possible. That is, if you think that he may take advantage of you, I am to protect myself, then no further work is possible. If you mistrust your surgeon, you will not allow him to make you unconscious. You do not know what he is going to do. You will say, do the operation, but allow me to be conscious so I can know what is going on, and I want you to do the operation in this way or according to your conditionings. In 1905, in the history of the medical science, an operation was performed on the king of Kashi, the present day Kashi. The name is Varanasi. He had that was 1905, medical science was not so developed. So he had an appendix, and it used to be considered then a very serious operation. So doctors, surgeons suggested that he has to perform surgery on him. But he said, I have one condition, that I have never taken anesthesia in my life, and I do not want this operation to be performed in a state when I am unconscious. Doctors were in trouble. How can we perform this long operation on this person, and he is the king, without giving the anesthesia? So they said it is not possible. He said, I will make it possible. All you do, you give me my Bhagavad Gita, and I will start reading it. And the moment I will go into, and you see that I am in a meditative state, you can perform this surgery then. But the doctors had to trust him when they saw it was a state of almost unconsciousness, in a state of meditation. You forget about the environment, you forget about your physical presence and everything. This was in 1905. There is another incident in the life of Lalaji's younger brother, Naqshbandi Raghuvar Dayal, popularly known as Chachaji. He was going along with his disciples to another place for a communion or few days of retreat at that place. Along the way, a car met an accident, and his feet was fractured, and something hand also. So when he was brought to the hospital, doctors said that we have to use the wooden strips under this and on top to keep your hand straight, because if it is left like this, naturally the hand cannot remain straight parallel to the ground for a long time. Although in certain yoga exercises, we undertake the exercises when we have to stretch our hands. So, and then also the same place that you have to keep your feet straight and raised, elevated. So what they do, they use some mechanical devices. They take something, and then they keep our feet hanging in that particular position, and at the same time they put the strips so the feet does not bend at the knee. So the master asked, how long do I have to keep these hands in that position? He said, at least 2 hours. He said, okay, you don't need to put the strips or take that trouble. The hands will remain straight, and the feet also. So you are lying down, and there is a one particular posture when your feet is raised and your hand is stretched in that way, and you are resting, your body's weight is resting on the back, feet is raised. And when these will not come down on their own, when your time is over, you will tell me, I will bring them back into the position. This was the effect of his meditativeness. So when the doctors heard, it was that he was given his Bhagavad Gita, he started reading it, he got into it, he got into a meditative state, unaware of everything, and then the surgery was performed. This is the only surgery in the history of the medical science when it was performed without anesthesia. So it can be possible, but you are not in that state. So you have to trust the surgeon. The surgeon says that you have to go through this preparation. Preparation requires these things depending on what surgery is to be performed on you. So preparations are done, then you are brought to the operation theater. When you are brought, as soon as you are put on to the operation table, you are blindfolded so that you do not see all those equipments that are there for use during the operation. Then you are given anesthesia, and in that also you cannot count beyond 3. 1, you will say very clearly. 2, a little lingering sound. 3, and after 3 you cannot say that. The moment your sound becomes lingering, the anesthetist knows that you are unconscious now. There are 3 levels of consciousness: waking, sleeping, and dream. We don't know, we are not aware of the 4th. Gurdjieff called it 4th dimension, and Hindus have called it Turiya, the 4th dimension. So this is symbolic. You trust your surgeon, he makes you unconscious because things are such that in your conscious state surgery is not possible. And it would be impossible to perform the surgery. Your consciousness would interfere. That is why trust is needed, and it is blind. If the seeker does not trust the master, because if he tells you what he is going to perform, you are ready for that. You are entering into an unknown zone. So trust is very important. There is no set rules that this particular rule is to be followed to bring about transformation in you. When someone comes with a question or problem to me, first of all, I have to connect to his consciousness from where the problem is arising. The problem may be on the surface, but what is the root cause behind this? You have returned home from the work. In the morning before going, your wife had asked you to get on the way back from the work, you will get these groceries, and she gives you a list. And you have told her that certain guests are coming, so you make these preparations. But both of you failed. Because of busy schedules, you forget to go to the grocery, and even if you have gone, there was a crowd, so you could not get it, so you return empty-handed. And when you reach, the wife has not prepared whatever you had asked for the guest. What comes out? At the moment when a situation comes, most of the cases, the anger or whatever words are spoken, they are not needed at that time. Simple thing is this: you forgot. Okay, I can understand it very well. Now just have a cup of tea or something, and then let us go together and get the items that we need. Or if you are supposed to prepare the dinner for the guest, okay, sweetheart, I know you were busy and you could not get a chance. Let us not waste any moment now. Let us put our efforts together and prepare it, and 2 of us will do it faster and finish it very quickly. Do we operate in this manner? So, whatever you spirit, whatever you say at that moment, that is not called for at that time. A wife suddenly tells the husband that it is time for us to separate. So separation is not the problem. What is behind that has triggered this situation, unless you understand that this is an aspect of psychology? It is not, yes, if you are a psychologist, you can study this and you can say that according to the science of psychology, it is part of analytical psychology, or you may give it any other name. But this is how the master works. Then he listens to you, and while listening to you, through the words, you get all that is hidden behind what you have said. Whatever you have said, you have known, but that will not bring the solution. What will bring the solution? What you was unable to communicate through the words. That was the root cause of it. So all this is important, and this is the meaning of the trust. That is why trust is blind. It means you are ready even to become unconscious. Whatever the master tells. Yesterday a similar situation came in when someone called about the problem. Listened, the person told him what to do, and then a while after, the whole situation reversed. The person messaged back and asked further instructions. So these are personal. It cannot be revealed to each and every one. The solution that was given to this person may not be suitable to you. So, yes, there are certain aspects of this question which can be used in a generalized manner. The first book that the author Nivedita wrote, Life, Love and Light. Her journey began with questions. There were many questions that were of personal in nature. When I realized that the question that she is asking is the question of many, others have not had the courage to ask, but she had. Some of these responses may benefit the others. Then I requested her that these talks can form a book form, and it will benefit the humanity. But remove the personal aspect of these questions if you can generalize. If not, let me know. I can generalize those and put it in such a way that the similar question can benefit the others. But this will not solve the problem, because you have gotten a principle, but you do not know how to apply that. So the basic understanding of scriptures is, the student comes to the master and says, teach me that, knowing which everything becomes known. You have a trigonometry problem. Do you want the immediate answer to that problem? Or a mathematical problem? What is the mechanism behind that problem, how to solve it? That's where teach me that, knowing which everything becomes known. If you want to know 2 plus 2, how you do this addition, you want the answer, or you want to know the process, how you do the adding, or how you solve this the way the mathematics comes in. If a equation, if something is given to you, 2 plus 2, then a small parenthesis, 3 divided by 4. So which has to be solved first? Which has to be solved afterwards? According to mathematics, the multiplication is solved first, then division, then addition and subtraction. They can go simultaneously, but first division is solved. If in that particular format there is a division to be done and a multiplication is done first, then division, then addition, and if there are 3 types of brackets, a small one which is like a curve, then the other one which comes like this shape, the other is straight. So they are known as a small, medium and large brackets. So the small one is to be solved first. So there is a particular way to do it. Do you want to know that methodology? How to solve, if a similar situation comes to you, how can you find the answer to that? Each time a person comes in or the same person presents his or her problem, each problem needs a different solution. Do you know the solution to this, or you know the art how to solve this problem? So that is a different situation that needs trust. And with trust comes in surrender. That is why trust is blind. If you mean, it means you are ready to become unconscious, and whatever the master tells you, you are ready for that. Only then does a deeper, inner, psychological or spiritual surgery is possible. So Master is the surgeon of the inner, is the physician of the inner. He is performing surgery in your, not anatomy or physiology, in your psychology. Surgery in your psychology, removing those polyps that are there in your psychology, in your conditioning, so that your process of health begins. Much pain will be felt, much anguish becomes, because catharsis is needed, and you have to be thrown back to your own center. That center from where the light begins, from where the health begins. Pythagoras said, it is at the time the child is born, these millions of stars from around the horizon, they gather together and create a musical harmony. He calls it symphony of life. And once you can create the same rhythm, one can attain to health and normalcy. This gets disturbed because of so many reasons, conditionings, your inhibitions. Conditionings are imposed onto you by your parents, by your teachers, by all those who are surrounding you. Then how you apply those conditionings on your day-to-day basis, it creates inhibitions in you. You have read something and you see the situation, you do not know whether this situation that you have read can apply to this particular situation or not. But you apply it and it creates inhibitions. Inhibition you create out of your own understanding of the conditionings and the situation as a relationship between the conditionings and the situation. So it is going to be an arduous and difficult. Sometimes it takes years. But if you have trust, surrender is possible. So something that may take years to happen may happen in a flash of a second, in a flick of the finger it can change. Transformation can happen. But if the disciple is ready to surrender, this can happen in a moment, this very moment. It depends on the intensity of surrender, and for that, your total trust is needed. Unnecessary time is wasted because the master has to go slowly and slowly in various steps. And then, so according to Jain, Mahabir was one of the masters who was contemporary of Buddha. He renounced the kingdom and he became the renunciate. So he had one piece of garment to wrap around the waist, from the waist down, and the extra piece he used to cover up the upper part of the body. He was passing through the forest. There were trees with thorns around, and the part of the garment, the piece of cloth, not garment really, a piece of cloth that was used to wrap around the waist, and remainder was used to cover up the upper part of the body from shoulder down. It got hooked onto the thorns of the tree, and he tried to pull it. It got torn. Then he felt immediately liberated. The other part that remained is still on the body. He threw it, fling in the air. He became naked. And then he remained like that throughout his life. But now the Jain monks, it was natural and spontaneous for Mahabir to attain to this nakedness. Truth is naked. Falsehood have many coverings on it. If you want to practice falsehood, you have layers upon layers. Truth is naked. And that is what reality is. So what happened? Now the Jain monks, in order to attain to that state, they follow 5 steps. First, they remove this part of the clothes. Second, this, then that. That which was spontaneous to Mahabir, to his followers, it is no way spontaneous and natural. So how can they attain to that level of consciousness that Mahabir had? There is a Buddhist monk, a master, who is one among the 84 Buddhist mystics. His name was Saraha. Saraha used to say to those disciples who became masters, and he told them, behave in such a way that others can trust you. Behave in such a manner that others can trust you. I know that you need no morality. I know now you need no rules. You have gone beyond rules and morality and everything. And you can do whatever you like, and you can be whatever you like to be. Now no system, no morality exists for you, but behave in such a way, because you are dealing with the people. You are dealing with the society. So behave in such a way so that disciples can trust you. So great masters have behaved in such a way that society approves. It is not because they need to behave in that manner. It is only an unnecessary thing to create trust. So master does at times certain things which are unnecessary to create trust. So Mahabir believes in the pattern that has been set by the Jains, his followers, every master has to follow, act, behave that is approved by his followers. That is why many problems arise. Whenever a master starts behaving in a new way, problems arise. Jesus behaved in a totally new way, which was not known by Jewish community. You will recall the incident when Jesus was sitting on a piece of stone with his finger writing something doing something on the ground. A woman came running, chased by the elite of the society. Each one of them had stones in their hand. And the woman came to the shelter of Jesus. The elite said, Master, this woman has been in adultery. And the old religion says a woman who is in adultery, she should be stoned to death. Jesus did not raise his head to look at woman or at the people. So they have known life in a particular way, the Jewish laws. Master, the old religion says a woman who is in adultery, she needs to be stoned to death. Jesus did not raise his head. With his head still bent, looking downward onto the ground, he said, it is also written in the old scriptures, which you did not understand. You only took the part which appealed to you. It is also written that the woman should be stoned to death, but he who has committed no sin should cast the first stone. Is also written in the scriptures. This did not appeal to you. You skipped that. He who has not committed a sin should cast first stone. As he said this, slowly and slowly the crowd dispersed. Without looking at the woman, Jesus said, Woman, where are thy accusers? Woman responded, Master, they have gone. Woman, Jesus said, Woman, go home and sin no more. These words were transforming. Where were these words coming from? From deep within his understanding, his experience, his energy field. Sufis call this tawajjuh. The transformation happens only because of this. The words, what was the force behind the words when Jesus said, Woman, go home? He creates a gap. Woman, go home and sin no more. In that very moment, there was a total surrender, total trust in the Master. That woman was transformed and she became Mary Magdalene, the only female disciple of Jesus. Female have a beauty. They are ready to surrender to someone. They are trusting. And truth only reveals to that person who has so much of trust and have surrendered. And that is why a disciple is a feminine in nature. Women are feminine by nature. Disciple has to, but you have to cultivate your femininity consciously. You have to be consciously feminine in order to attain to that state. And in that very fraction of a second, in that sentence, woman, go home and sin no more, Mary was transformed from what she was. In a Jewish community, he was behaving as if he was living in a Buddha. And Jesus, 17 years of his missing life, the Christians do not talk about that. In Tibet, there are the examples, there are evidence that Jesus came to India and lived in the Buddhist monasteries in Tibet, and there he learned the ways of Buddha. And when all of a sudden Jesus appeared, when Moses was baptizing the people, all of us, and he says, he who comes after me will baptize with fire. He is mightier than I. There are two ways of baptizing. With the water, water falls from top to the bottom in descending order. Fire is an ascending. He will baptize with fire. What is fire? Fire of love, fire of understanding. So the Master uses the two ways, baptize you with water or with fire. So Moses was baptizing the people while standing in the river. All of a sudden Jesus appears in front of him, said, Master, baptize me. Moses felt a presence that Jesus was, and he opened his eyes and he said, you who I was waiting all the time. And Moses disappeared after that. So Jesus spent time in Buddhist community, and that created the whole problem, because according to Jewish community, it is not accepted. Old religion, old ways and means are not accepted by the human mind. So it creates a problem. He was killed, misunderstood, murdered. And the reason was only this: Jesus, that Jews could not trust Jesus. If a disciple could not trust the Master, no process is possible. A master has unnecessarily to create many things around him or do so many things just to create trust in you. Just you can grow into trust. But even then problems arise, because everyone comes with his own expectations. The Master must be like this or that. A person could not, of an Islamic descent, could not accept that. How could he be a Sufi? Does he offer namaz? Does he go to the mosque? And things like that. Because my background is Hindu. But that does not mean my understanding is guided by any particular so-called organized religion. It is not conditioned by Hindu, Muslim or Christianity. It is eternal, unborn and unmanifest. In the beginning there was light. There was Word. Word was with God, and the Word was God. It is very important. Surrender means you leave your expectation. Trust means you are ready to allow Him to do whatever He wants to do with you. And surrender is followed after that you leave your expectations. You do not know when the session begins, what will the Master say today to me? Or what did He speak? Even before the session begins, I do not know what is going to happen. Yesterday when I looked at it, where the talk, the live streaming finished, and today is the last day of the 3 days session. So after that, the next session will be the following Saturday. There is a gap. So I wanted to finish whatever was continuing, but I did not know how and what to begin. When I come and I feel the presence of the people who are connected to me, a resultant is used so that the talk can benefit everyone. This I experienced while working in the university as a professor. There were students of different levels of understanding. Different levels of understanding. So you have to use a common denominator so that the most intelligent person in the class can understand, and the one who is the lowest and one who is in the middle at a scale of intelligence, so that you can benefit the entire class of 40, 50 students. And there were students whose medium of instruction was Hindi, the Indian language, the others whose medium of understanding was English. How can I create a common denominator? What I realize, all of the students, they use the technical terms in English. Like for instance, demand, supply, price, everybody knows. But when you speak the sentence in English, the Hindi medium students don't understand. And if you speak in Hindi medium, then it is not understood by the English medium. So what is the common denominator? I will say, friends, I will explain in English how price is determined in the market. I use the connecting words of Hindi language and the technical terms of English, and it became the common denominator for everyone. So when I feel the presence of those who are there and those who are not there as yet, or may listen to this broadcast at their own convenience, their level of understanding and intelligence is different. What common denominator do I use? So everyone comes with their expectation, with their level of understanding. So surrender means you have left your expectations. You allow the master to be as he is. In the beginning, he has to adjust himself so that you can grow in trust. The moment you have developed the trust, then surrender begins. The process of surrendering begins. You allow him, because of the trust, you allow him to do whatever he wants to do with you. Even if pain results, you are ready for it. You are ready for the unknown and unknowable. If you are only going for what you know, that cannot transform you. Always be ready for the unknown and unknowable. Only then growth is possible. Even if he leads you towards death, you are ready for it. This is the meaning of trust. You trust him so much, it does not matter what he tells you to do. You are ready. You have surrendered. Because ultimately he will lead you to death. You know the death of the physical being, the death of the body. But psychologically you are not dead. Your inhibitions has to vanish. Your conditionings have to vanish. Unless that happens, their transformation is not possible. Only after this, rebirth is possible, and that is what transformation is. You have to die as you are. because your conditionings, your inhibitions is the cause of your misery, of your problems. So those it is the death of inhibitions, death of conditionings, death of the way you used to think, the way you used to live your life has to dissolve, and only then a new person is born in you. So sometimes people want to know, what are you doing? What has caused so much change in you? That I know you as a person, but you are totally different. And this sometimes amazes you that you have known this person this way. Why is this person acting in other way? I know this person used to get angry and frustrated and all that, but now I feel a totally different energy field around this person. What is the cause of all that? Only after this rebirth is possible. This is resurrection. Resurrection is possible when your old identity has been crucified. Your old identity has to be crucified. This is the meaning of rebirth, resurrection of Christianity. Christianity is become the crucifixion became, but the resurrection after that is important. When Jesus was on the cross, on the two sides were the thieves on the cross. Three people were given crucifixion at the same time. Jesus was in the middle, and two on the each side were thieves. Like the human being, Jesus complains, Father, why have you forsaken me? The human Jesus speaks, Father, why have you forsaken me? A silence prevails. Silence prevails. Let thy will prevail. Let thy will prevail. Resurrection happened. Jesus is transformed. He is no more Jesus, but he became Christ. Jesus is no more Jesus, son of Mary and Joseph. He is the Son of God, Christ. And this is resurrection. And only when Jesus was resurrected, it was Mary who saw him, saw this process of resurrection happening to Jesus, and he told everyone, the Master has resurrected. Only the feminine mind, the trusting mind that has surrendered, knows the truth. After that resurrection, Jesus, his body was not found. It was brought down because the Jewish crucifixion is very crude. After Sabbath on Friday, certain time when they go into, Jewish community goes into Sabbath from 4 o'clock until Monday morning. So no activity takes place. So the body was brought down, and there his head lay on the lap of Mary. The two women were there. All other disciples had disappeared. Mary, his mother, and Mary Magdalene were there. Jesus' head lay on their lap. Jesus resurrected. And the rest of the time he lived up to the age of 120 years. And in Kashmir, in the northern part of the mountains in India, in the village place called Pahalgaon. Pahalgaon means the village of the shepherds. There is a particular community, particular family that takes care of the shrine of Jesus and Moses. When you look at their nose and everything, it is of Jewish descent, and his shrine is in Pahalgam, and it is being taken care of. Only one family, one after the other. So this is the meaning of surrender and resurrection. Only this much for this morning. Until we meet again, take care and do have a pleasant day.